evening, everybody. Welcome to this very special episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk in Scotland. And to quote Rock here, Scotland, the centre of the known and unknown universes and of the extended galaxies explored and unexplored, the dominant force in the particles that hold everything together. Yes, that is Scotland, and that is where we are. So yeah, I like that. So I thought I'd start with that. Thank you very much. Yes, this is as near to my birthday as we'll get until a few years' time, actually. Because my birthday is actually tomorrow. But this is kind of like the night before the birthday, and I've already been celebrating, so I figured, why not? Why not just make it a whole weekend? So that's kind of what I've been doing. After church, we went to my parents' place for Sunday lunch, and we had like champagne, and I got some very nice gifts from my parents, which is very cool. So we hung out there. And it was great fun. We had a marvelous time together as a family. And me and my mother polished off an entire bottle of champagne together, the pair of us. So I have had plenty of alcohol. And in that fridge at the back there, I already have like another 3 bottles of beer. So after the show, for the after show party, if Mike is going to launch one, and hopefully he will, we'll have a proper birthday after show party, and I will be having a couple of those for sure. So it's gonna be good. I don't really have like a particular plan for tonight's show other than just to kind of share my birthday with you guys, really, because I love you guys. I love the contributions you have made to my channel over the years. And in particular, over the last couple of years, you guys have been fantastic, especially as I've taken over doing the Songwriting Simplified show myself, having co-hosted it with Jonny Guy for about 5 years. It's been pretty cool to be able to do it on my own. I do have plans, by the way, to get Jonny back onto Songwriting Simplified. Maybe not as a regular host, but as a regular guest, but certainly he will be here. He will be here. My plan is to have him come and do a couple of shows with me, and we'll see kind of how it goes and how it works with his new working schedule, and of course with his family commitments, which is kind of why he handed it over to me in the first place, was family commitments and things like that, and his new working schedule. So we'll see if we can get him back as a kind of regular guest who, pops up maybe once a month or something. That would be great to get him back involved in that. So, yeah, I would very much like Jonny to be back involved. And I'd also like Rich Cresswell to be a little bit more involved if he is able to be. So, yeah. That's kind of where I am planning to take Songwriting Simplified, is kind of involve a few more composers and a few more songwriters, and a few more people involved in kind of like music notation and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I'm planning to go with that particular show. And Sunday Night Live is also hopefully going to start taking on some more guests as well. So I'm hoping to be able to do some Sunday Night Live shows with my good friend Smudge from Progressive Audio. I think that's what his channel is called now. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting him involved and dealing with some mastering questions and mixing questions as well. But having him as a co-host for a few shows would be great as well. So I'm looking to have more regular guests onto both shows, because I think it'd be cool to do that. And also it would mean that you're not just having to listen to me for the whole, the whole hour. You'll get more than me. You'll get me plus another guest, and we can pick their brains on all sorts of subjects to do with mixing and mastering and recording. It would be really great if I could get my friend Joe Gilder on here as well, but I know that the time zone thing and commitments doesn't really work that well for him, because at this kind of time of the evening he would be with his family, so it doesn't really maybe work that well for him. But it'd be great if I could get him on, like, just an occasional once in a great while. That'd be good, and we can talk mixing, and we can talk music production with him. That would be cool. So I've got some ideas of people that I want to get involved in both shows going forward, because it would just be more fun for you guys. It'd be more engaging for you, I'm thinking. And also it would mean that you don't have to listen to me for the entire flipping hour, but just to break up the monotony of having to listen to a Scottish accent the entire time. You'll get to hear, you know, some English accents, and you'll get to hear some American ones as well. And maybe if we get Gregory in here, we'll get some German accents going as well. That'd be pretty cool. But anyways, thank you very much, all of you. We got 15 people here just now, but thank you everybody for coming, and I really appreciate all of your very kind birthday messages, and we're going to get to some of those just now. Also, just to say, you will find in the description below that there should be a link to my PayPal if you would like to give me a birthday gift. I am going to put that in the chat as well, if I can find the damn thing, as well, because I think it would be useful. Hang on just a second whilst I do that, because I think this might be something that you might like to do. And if you don't, it's fine. There we go. And I've lost OBS. Oh, that's because I minimized it. There we go. So yeah, if you would like to hit my PayPal account, you can do, if you'd like to give me a birthday gift. If you don't, that's fine. No obligation. Nobody has to do anything they don't want to do, or if they can't afford it, absolutely fine. No obligations here, folks. But if you'd like to be generous, I would appreciate it nonetheless. All right, let's go up and see what we got at the top here. And Billy Morgan was first in the door, and then I saw this hilarious conversation that took place between the guys that were in early doors, which is hilarious. So I'm going to read you that entire conversation, although you can probably already see it. If you scroll up to the very earliest conversation, you'll see it's pretty funny. So Billy Morgan was first in the door, and then Sean Aaron was next, and then Chris from Rackner says, Billy, if I pay you, would you let me be first just once? And then Ron Figura's in as well, and he says Billy will never give up the title. And Billy Morgan's basically saying maybe to Chris. Yeah. So I'll let you guys work that one out. Tony Stringer is here as well, and Kevin from Kevin's Guitar Stories is here as well. He says, happy birthday. I'm having a drink for you, and a beer can has been crushed in your honor, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. And Rock Tease is here, and he has a question which I'll get to in just a wee moment. And we've got Cal Trajesiak here, and we've got Mike Johnson, and we've got Don Oliver, and we've got Rich Cresswell, who's given me a nice birthday greeting in Gaelic, which is cool. Thank you very much for that, buddy. Yeah, Gaelic's not really a language I speak particularly. My grandmother was extremely fluent in Gaelic, but it's not a Lowlands accent or language even. It's a Highlands language, and so my grandmother and my mother being from the Highlands, you know, my grandmother was a very fluent Gaelic speaker, and so she kind of taught the rest of the family some Gaelic. But it's not something I ever really learned particularly, so I don't really remember any of it, to be honest. I know wee bits and pieces, a few phrases here and there, but mostly, no, I don't. It's Scots for me, and English, and of course sarcasm. Got to have sarcasm, and it's kind of essential to Scottish culture. So yes, Scots is a genuine bona fide language. It's not just a dialect. A lot of people make that mistake. They think that Robbie Burns is poems and stories. They're all kind of written in a lowland Scottish dialect. No, it's actually a genuine language, and is protected under UNESCO. And they're protected language status. So you'll find amongst those languages, you'll find Gaelic, you'll find Scots, you'll find Welsh, you'll find Irish, and you'll find Cornish. Those are kind of like the 5 UK languages that are all protected under UNESCO, and to make sure that these languages are kept alive in the UK. Even though the predominant language in the UK is English, and pretty much everybody speaks English, but there's these other languages as well. So we want to protect them and make sure that everybody gets a chance to learn them and speak them and pass them on to the next generation. So Scots is genuinely a language. It's not just a dialect. So there you go. Kind of a little aside that has absolutely nothing to do with music production, but it has something to do with something that is very personal to me, and that's my country of Scotland and our culture. But thank you for that. And we got John Lake here as well, and we got Semog Eng, mix and mastering engineer. He says, your birthday one day after mine. There you go, that's awesome. Happy birthday to you too, my friend. Yes, my birthday is tomorrow, it's not today. Kyle says maybe some irregular guests. Well, Kyle, you're kind of a pretty irregular kind of dude, so maybe we should have you on the show as well. Yeah, I'm sure we could sort that one out. Kyle, by the way, for those of you that don't know who Kyle is actually a very, very good mixing engineer. And he'll take anything on pretty much, even if it's not a genre that he's familiar with. He will take anything on, and he'll learn about the genre, and he'll get his teeth stuck into mixing. So he's very, very cool. If you have a mixing job you'd like to get done, you can go to Kyle, to be honest. Let's see, what else do we have here? Garner99 is here as well. And Lowenz is here with the happy birthday greeting. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we got Old School Funk and Soul as well, who is here, and he's talking to Rich. He says, hi, Rich, from down the road in Brum. Yes, because you guys are actually fairly close to each other in location. That's pretty cool. Let's see. And I think I got to the end, which is cool. All right, so I'm going to get to Rock T's question, because it is an interesting one. And his question is, just wondered if the Fender team had any influence or input into the new 6.5 update. Kind of hard for me to answer that question specifically, but in broad terms, the way it works is Fender is a large corporation, possibly the largest musical instrument corporation in the world. And so they own a bunch of brands, actually. So Jackson Guitars, Charvel Guitars, EVH, Gretsch for guitars and drums, and Bigsby for the cool tailpiece for guitars as well, and Presonus. So they have a bunch of these different brands. Each one of them operates as a wholly owned subsidiary of Fender. And what that means is that they continue to operate as their own companies. They make their own products, they sell their own products, and all of that. And they have some independence from the parent company, which is Fender in this case, in much the same way that Yamaha is the parent company of Steinberg. Steinberg continues to make Cubase and Nuendo, and continues to put out updates for both of those products. Plus, they continue to make some hardware products as well. But the cool thing there is You know, they're still known as Steinberg, and you know, on the Cube, if you buy a version of Cubase, you still have to go to the Steinberg website to get it. So Steinberg still operates as a brand on its own, but its parent company is Yamaha. So it works out pretty good for them, just like it does for us here at PreSonus, because, you know, Fender is our parent company, but we still put out our products, and we still have PreSonus.com, we still have my.presonus.com, and all of that, and we still put out our products with PreSonus branding on them. So the parent company does have some influence, obviously, because they own us, but they don't necessarily completely 100% get involved in kind of like what features and things like that go into any particular build of Studio One. They leave that up to the experts, which is the Hamburg team, the PreSonus software company that's in Hamburg, and that's where the developers are. And they build Studio One. They also build Notion. They also build Capture. They also build Universal Control. And they work very hard at integrating PreSonus hardware and software products together, which is kind of that's their bread and butter. And then of course they develop Studio One as well, and Notion and all of that. So the answer to your question is kinda, sorta, but they don't really say, hey, you should have this feature in Studio One, or you should have this feature in Studio One, or don't have this feature in Studio One, or whatever. They don't really have any kind of input in that respect. So, but, you know, they do kind of make sure that we are profitable and all of that. So, but like I said, I can't really go into specific details, unfortunately. Kyle says, hope you remember to start the stream. You know what? You say that, and I very nearly didn't start the stream. I very nearly started just talking to the camera and then oh shit, hit that start stream button on OBS would help. So yeah, good point. Roger Becker is here as well. Awesome to see you. Thanks, mate. Thanks for your kind message. Ron Figura says, is there a way to filter MIDI CC messages in Studio One? And he says there are messages coming from an external MIDI controller. Well, I mean, you can look at the MIDI monitor, and but I'm not sure that you can kind of block from a particular keyboard unless you go into external devices in Studio One. Let's go and see about that. External devices. So let's go over to the screen here. We'll stick the webcam on. So I'm in external devices options here. So this is Studio One options. If you're on a Mac, that'll be Studio One preferences. And if you select your keyboard, like this guy here, this is my Yamaha QS300. This is this guy. If I was to click on edit here, you can see that there are things here that you can filter out. So aftertouch, program change, pitch bend, and controllers. So you can filter out these things by checking one of these boxes. And then basically those parameters will not come through the MIDI monitor in Studio One. So if you want to block program changes, if you want to block pitch bend and aftertouch or control data, then you can check this box. So if you'd have to do this on a per device basis though. So let's say I don't want to block anything from this guy, but let's say if I go onto this one, well, this is the QWERTY one, so I can't really do that on the QWERTY one, but I don't have any other keyboards connected. But if I had another one here, then I would then have to and let's say that's the one where I'm getting extraneous control data or messages or whatever, then yeah, I would just edit that particular keyboard in much the same way as I edit this one, and then just check those boxes and hit OK. And then you're good. But that's the only way that I know of doing it in Studio One, in that way specifically. But is a good question. Bobby Booth says, trying to save money to pay my taxes, maybe the first of the year. Okay. Not quite sure what's being discussed there. Anyway. Kyle says, JL shares his birthday with the other JL, John Lennon. Yes, I do. And I also share my birthday with his son, Sean. His son, Sean, was born in, I think, New York. But we were born very close together in terms of time. I think there's only like a matter of a few minutes, I think, between me being born and Sean Lennon being born. But yeah, and my own personal claim to fame about John Lennon is that my mother knew the Beatles. Actually, she knew them quite well because she was a backing singer for all sorts of acts at the Cavern Club in Liverpool. But that included the Beatles before they were the Beatles, before they actually named themselves the Beatles. Because before they were the Beatles, they were actually a soul band, believe it or not. And so my mother sang backing vocals for them when they were kind of in their soul period before they became the Beatles and became the greatest rock and roll band of all time, pretty much. And she was particularly better friends, or had a better relationship with John Lennon than she did with the other guys. She knew him much better than the others. So yeah, that's kind of my little. And Bobby Booth is like, well, since I'm not here, I'll leave. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. Maybe you're joking. I'm not really sure. Anyway, you guys are having a weird existential chat, which is hilarious. Sean Aaron says, I emailed you a song for the challenge. Yes, I got your email, and you've made a YouTube video. That's okay. Don't mind that. SoundCloud is definitely kind of a good option. It's easy for us, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to compile a list of everybody's entries and the links for their entries, and I'm going to share that doc with Rich, and then the two of us will on October 27th, the two of us will take all the submissions that we have, because that's the closing date. So get your entries in, preferably before October 27th if you want to take part. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, we're talking about the Halloween Songwriting Challenge, which is to use the B Locrian Natural 6 scale, which is basically the white notes from B to B, but instead of playing G, which is the next logical white note, you play G sharp instead. So it goes like this. Okay, we had the Fender Rhodes sound. Let's put that on piano instead. Particularly dark and spooky sounding scale. So basically, the idea is you make use of this mode to develop your melody, your harmony. So basically, melody parts, harmony parts, chords, you can all derive from that scale. And your piece has to be minimum 90 seconds long, maximum 5 minutes. It needs to have a very clear beginning, middle, and end. And the idea is just be as creative as you possibly can be and scare the shite out of both me and Rich. If you succeed in doing that, then you have a high chance of winning a prize, because there will be a prize for the piece that scares us the most and demonstrates the most creativity, in our opinion. So our opinion and our decision is going to be final. But at the end of the day, these kind of things, they're always a wee bit subjective. And some of you might be like, oh, this one was way better than the one that won, or whatever. But the end of the day, this is kind of on us. It's on our decision. And Rich Cresswell has very, very generously and very, very kindly agreed to sponsor this challenge and provide a prize for it. And so the lucky winner will get to choose from an agreed selection, I think, of prizes. Just in case the one that we offer up you already have, in which case you'll be able to choose something different. Basically, that's the way that works. All right, so that's kind of how that challenge works. And the closing date is the 27th, and on the 29th, which is a Sunday, it's the Sunday before Halloween itself, we will have a Halloween-themed Sunday Night Live, and Rich will be on the show with me, and we will listen to what we think are the 5 or 6 best songs, and we will play them for you guys. And from all of the entries, not just this top 6, but from all of the entries, we will choose a winner. So that's going to be pretty cool. I'm very excited to see what you guys all come up with. I will be entering it as well, but obviously I won't be able to win, and neither will Rich, because that would be just dumb and stupid, and nobody with half a brain does that. So we will be doing our part to put in an entry, and we will play our own pieces. But obviously we are not eligible to win anything, because that would just be dumb. So there is a zip file which you can drag into Studio One, and Billy Morgan has the Dropbox linked to that. So go and grab that if you want to take part. You still have time to get involved in it, and when you open that song, the song information window will pop up immediately. It'll give you all the details. Plus, there is an instrument in that song that has the scale and has some chords derived from that scale that you can use, and you can use that as a template, as a guide to just go nuts and be creative. Kyle says, I'll do a song and put my face on the cover. Well, you know what? Maybe you could make it silent and you might still win. No, I'm kidding, Kyle. Rock says, hey mate, did my email get to you? I'll have to check on that, and I'll get back to you and let you know. Personas Hispano-America says, greetings, Johnny from Monterrey, Mexico. Greetings, my friend. I'm glad you are here. Thank you very much for joining tonight's show. That's awesome. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. It's good to see Personas colleagues appearing on this show from time to time. Let's see. Christopher says, you have been a great help. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I think you've got a question. He says, I'm having a very difficult time with the Dolby thing. Could we have a very in-depth look at how to set it up, please? Well, the good news for you is that Gregor just, I think yesterday, or it might have been the day before, has done a very good video on how to get started with Dolby Atmos. Whether you're using headphones and the binaural setup, or whether you actually already have a whole array of speakers and an interface that has enough outputs to support it. Now, for the most part, it depends on how many speakers you've got, but if you're going to go full on into the Atmos world with speakers, you're probably going to need at least 11 speakers, somewhere between 11 and 16 speakers, and therefore you are going to need an interface that has at least that many outputs, because you'll need to want to have outputs connected from your interface to each one of those speakers in order for it to work for you. Or if you don't have that, like I don't, I just have a pair of stereo speakers. Headphones are the way to go, and there is a binaural headphone setup that is in the Dolby Atmos renderer that I think I showed a couple of Sundays ago on how you get it working. So if you've not checked out that show, then certainly do that. And if you have not also checked it out, Gregor's video goes into a lot of depth and a lot of detail on how to set that up. Also check out this the channel called Studio One Revealed, because the guy, I don't even know who he is. I have to admit, I have no clue who that guy is, but he has done a bunch of really, really good videos on getting stuck into Dolby Atmos in Studio One 6.5. So I recommend checking his video as well. Joe Gilder has a partner video with Gregor's video on the basics of getting set up with Dolby Atmos. So I recommend watch Joe's video, watch Gregor's video, watch the little the last 15 minutes of a couple of Sundays ago where I demonstrated it as well. So go and do those three first, and then also go check out Studio One Revealed and check out his video on Dolby Atmos as well, because it's actually very, very good. I've watched it. I have, as I said, I have no clue who that guy is. I need to actually reach out to him and say, hey, you know, want to collaborate? Want to, you know, come on my show and we can talk about, you know, Atmos or whatever you want to talk about. So I should maybe do that, actually. Billy Morgan's given a link. I think that's the link to one of the videos that we have just mentioned. Yeah, Ron, he says that might do it. It's CC number 123. Well, the thing with that is that basically it just filters out all control data from that particular keyboard. I don't think you can specify exactly, you know, this particular control data that's extraneous. You might actually have to address that directly from the keyboard that's sending those extraneous messages. There may be a way to turn that particular CC data from that keyboard off directly within the system settings of that keyboard. Because that checkbox is actually just broad. It's just cut out all control, cut out all aftertouch, cut out all pitch bend. You know, it's kind of a broad kind of filter rather than a specific itemized filter, unfortunately. But you are better than them. If only that was true, Chris. I'm really not, especially when it comes to Dolby Atmos. I know very little about Dolby Atmos. You know, I was involved in testing Studio One 6.5, but I didn't really get that much into the Dolby stuff because my focus for testing was on the notation and the tablature side of things. And I was working actually very directly with the developers with the notation and that kind of thing for Studio One 6.5. So I didn't really dive into Atmos particularly very much. What you saw in the Studio One, the Sunday Night Live show where I demonstrated it a wee bit was, you know, I didn't have any trouble getting it working. I don't have any trouble getting it working in Studio One. But what I did have trouble with was getting it to being able to record that with OBS. That was my big trouble. And it stopped me from actually putting a whole section in my 6.5 overview on Atmos, which is what I wanted to do. But I couldn't do it because every time I tried creating a song in Dolby Atmos, OBS would basically just freeze up. It would just become completely unresponsive, and so I couldn't record, I couldn't stream. So I ended up basically having to say I can't do it. However, like I said, I think last week, I figured out what the problem was, and the problem was a sample rate mismatch, not between Studio One and Universal Control or OBS even. That wasn't where the problem was, because all the sample rates matched, which is why I couldn't figure this one out. The problem, it was a sample rate mismatch, but it was the place I'd completely overlooked. And that is in Windows Sound Control. So Universal Control and my interface was set to 48K, which is kind of what you need. and so was OBS, and so was Studio One. So I thought, well, all of those things are the same. So where is the problem? Turns out the problem was in Windows Sound Control. In Windows Sound Control, I still had that set to 44.1. And that's where the problem was. And that was what was stopping OBS from working properly. The whole system was just confused. It was just like, well, you want us to be at 48K, but you're also telling us to be at 44.1. We can't do both. Come on, Lipsham, we can't do both. And so they would just become unresponsive. It would have been nice if there was an error message that says, hey, you idiot, you've still got Windows Sound Control set to 44.1. Go fix that, and then everything will be good. No such error message. I had to figure it out. I had to work it out. It took me the better part of like 6 or 7 hours before I got to the bottom of it and figured it out. But now that I have done that, I am now able to stream and show it, which is what I did the other Sunday. But like I said, you know, I'm actually still pretty novice with Dolby Atmos. I'm still trying to figure it out as much as anyone else. Studio One revealed is Mike Enjo from Australia. Of course it is. Of course it is. I'm such an idiot because I think he is I think he's the captain of the Studio One meetup in Australia. And I've just never put 2 and 2 together. How silly of me. Rock says, can you shed some light on the collab between Presonus and Nectar as I used the Nectar Impact 49 Plus? Well, basically all there is an integration file. And when you download and install that integration file, it basically means that Studio One and your Nectar will be able to talk to each other in a little bit more depth, which means you'll be able to do things like transport control and some automation using sliders and buttons and whatever you've got on that Nectar. That's essentially all it is. We did this for a whole bunch of the Native Instruments keyboards as well. So like the Complete Control keyboards, there's a whole bunch of integration that now works, and especially actually with Studio One 6.5, I think it's the Series 3 Complete Control keyboards are now also subject to that integration as well. So there is an integration file that you can download from Native Instruments that gets you that as well. So it works for Nectar and it works for Complete Control. And it's basically just an integration file. And that's essentially all there is to it. There's nothing, you know, kind of more deep than that, other than this. What this integration file does is it just allows your controller to have a little bit more control over parameters in Studio One than it ordinarily would. And that's essentially all there is to it. There you go. And for those that don't want to watch a video, there is an article on the Presonus blog, courtesy of Craig Anderton, where he's done a whole bunch with Atmos as well. So, and that's got some nice pretty screenshots as well as text to help you kind of read all about it and figure out how to get working with Atmos. Thank you, Rich. That's a good one. Let's see. Just Bob says, could you maybe free jam a demo for some left-hand chords and scale runs with the right hand with the scale offered up for the challenge? It is really challenging. It is really challenging, which is why it's not really something that you could maybe necessarily use in kind of maybe an improvised context. Maybe kind of do something that's a little bit more composed, because it is just a little bit awkward. Now, what you're talking about is using the scale as you would kind of like for mixed Lydian scale. So for example, mixed Lydian is just dead easy, you know. So I could do that all day and all night and never get tired of it. Now, with Locrian Natural 6, it's a little bit more of an awkward scale. So you base yourself on B, or you could base yourself on E if you want, like have these as a pedal point. Something like that. And I was probably distorting quite a bit there, actually, because I just realized my keyboard was way louder than it should be. But yeah, that's kind of how I might approach it. But to be honest, because I'm wanting to be all scary and atmospheric, and I may not play it like that, actually. I'll be maybe inclined to be a lot less jazzy than that. So, you know, I might make use of some more dissonance, maybe, and maybe take the tempo down a wee bit. So, you know, I might do. Something like that. Whatever. All the dissonant sounding chords is where I get a bit lost. Not sure if I fall out of scale. You know what? It doesn't matter terribly much if you do. Here's the thing, especially about modal music, which is what we're dealing with. You don't need to be strict about your adherence to the scale. You want to make it, the scale is kind of the default position. That's kind of, I know it's going to sound weird saying this, but if you were to imagine this particular scale, the B Locrian natural 6, if you were to think of that as consonants, now, when you have consonants, the way you contrast that is with dissonance. So you can use notes that don't belong to the scale as dissonant notes that resolve to this weird consonants. Okay, so if you imagine that the B Locrian natural 6 is the bedrock, you can superimpose any other scale on that that you want. So if you want to do like a section of the piece that's in diminished whole tone scale or is in a different mode altogether, maybe like Lydian flat 2 or something like that, any, you know, pick any other mode, you can you know, you can kind of contrast. But you know, if you make the bedrock the foundation of your piece, the B Locrian natural 6 scale, you can put any other scale in the mix as well to provide contrast, because otherwise it could potentially just sound, you know, everybody's piece could sound the same. So make use of some notes that don't belong as passing notes. Make some chords that don't belong as passing chords to provide tension and release. This is how music kind of, what makes music go, it's what gives music its sense of forward motion, is by tension and release. Now, when I did my kind of more jazzy thing to start with, I did most of what I did was based out of that Locrian natural 6 scale, but there were some chords in my left hand that didn't belong, because they sound good, but they don't 100% fit the scale. But I know they fit the mood of the scale, and they fit the atmosphere that I want to create. So, you know, you are completely at liberty to borrow other chords from different scales, whatever makes your work fit and work together so you have this tension and release. Albeit we're dealing with a scale that has a lot of tension in it already. So if you consider that level of tension your foundation, your bedrock, and then anything else you can put on top. So if you want to put a, you know, like a Lydian, a Mixolydian flat 5 scale, or whatever scale you want to superimpose on the top of it, then you can certainly do that to provide that, you know, contrast. So maybe have, you know, your A section, which is fixed in that B Locrian natural 6 scale, and then maybe have your contrasting section, your B section, based out of a slightly different mode. Maybe use the diminished whole tone scale, maybe use the whole tone scale, maybe use a different mode entirely, and then, you know, repeat your A section fixed in that B Locrian natural 6 scale. That would work, and it would fulfill the brief that everyone's been given as well. So that would be how to do it. Rock is asking, he says, in case my email got lost, can I link you here now? No, don't put your link to your song in the chat here, because this chat is transitory, okay? I need to be able to gather everything in one place, which is why I want you to email me. Okay, so make sure you email, go to the website down there, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk. When you're on the website, I can show you the website. Absolutely happy to show you the website, so everybody knows where they need to go. So here is my website. There is a button right here that says contact us. Hit that. And it's not going to do it. But when it does it, it takes you to this form here. Put your name, put your email address, and in here, put your subject. It's going to be the Halloween Challenge, the Halloween Songwriting Challenge 2023, and then put the link to your work. So if your work is a SoundCloud, your work is uploaded to SoundCloud, then put it in there. Put the link to it in there. If it's on YouTube as an unlisted video, put it there. If it's in Dropbox, put it there as well. I mean, we'd prefer it to be kind of easy access, like SoundCloud is very, very easy access. So, and also it helps you to publish your works, because what good is music if it just sits in a place where nobody can access it? So part of this challenge is to not only write music, but get it out there into the public domain so that everybody can hear your music. So this is why we kind of are pushing SoundCloud with a little bit more kind of a firm push, is because somewhere like SoundCloud is a place where you can upload your music and people can listen to it. And it also means that the rest of us who are either participating or not participating can go and check out your work. So definitely do that. And also, only moderators can actually post links in the chat. So yes, just to kind of wrap up, kind of addressing Bob's kind of question here. Try not to overthink this. We made it this one scale because although it's a weird sounding scale and is perfect for kind of music that is dark, which is perfect for Halloween and that kind of thing, try not to overthink it and, kind of fix yourself into kind of like only a handful of set notes. Provide yourself with some contrast, because, everybody's music is going to sound the same if everybody is strictly only using the notes from that scale. You can absolutely 100% only use the notes from that scale if that's what you want to do. Do that. There are no problems. Your entry will not be invalidated if you only use the notes from that scale. But if you want to be a little bit more explorative or provide a little bit more contrast, you can do that by using other notes as well, because those other notes are there. You can use them. Just make sure that, the bedrock, the foundation of your piece is the scale. Okay? So try not to overthink it. Trying to overlimit. Thought pass through chords notes were not allowed. No, certainly not. No, you can use that. Bobby Wheeler says, how about an MP3? Yes, you can send us an MP3 for sure. Gerard says the closed captions are so wrong on many levels. I can't imagine being deaf and lying on that. Yeah, they are. Lockery scale. That's funny. I think the other problem, Gerard, is that I think the other problem is that YouTube maybe is having a wee bit of a hard time with my Scottish accent. Because Lockery scale, you know what? I wish it was a place in Scotland. If it's not, I am renaming this house to Lockery scale just because it sounds cool. We can certainly do that. All right, so we got about 5 minutes left of this birthday special show. I am not working tomorrow, so I'm absolutely up for an after show birthday party. I will crack open some beers. If somebody wants to host that, that would be cool. That could be Mike, that could be Billy, it could be anybody. I don't mind who hosts it. But yeah, that could be fun, and I would be up for staying up for some extra time with some beers as well. Like I said, I've already had pretty much a half bottle of champagne all to myself, and that was a feckin' magnum of champagne. So, and Mike has posted the link there, so we're good. So I am already a wee bit on the way to being a little bit on the drunk side, which is maybe why I'm rambling a lot more than I usually do, and I usually ramble quite a bit on this show. Mostly because I'm trying to fill a little bit sometimes. Nectar GX61 not working since last update. Yes, this is a good point. If you have the Nectar integration file and you update Studio One, you will have to reinstall that integration file. You'll have to do it every time there's an update. That's not a Presonus problem. It's not necessarily a Nectar problem either. And if you've got the complete integration file as well, it's neither of our faults. It's just how it has to work. When you update, it flushes those kind of things out. So you have to reinstall them. So that's just something that you have to do. There are other manufacturers with whom that has to happen as well. So things like, external scripts like the color toolbar, for example, or Jonny Gibe's HST toolbar, for example, you have to reinstall those when there is an update to Studio One, because they don't work when there's an update to Studio One. All of those things just get flushed out. So you got to do those every time. And I know it's a pain in the butt, and I know it's annoying, but it is just something you have to do, and it's not a bug. It's not something that will be fixed because these things are third party, so it's not a bug in Studio One that needs to be fixed. It's just simply how these third party scripts and things work. When you update Studio One, third party scripts get flushed out. Ow, I smacked my keyboard. Third party scripts get flushed out and you have to reinstall them. So that is a good point to make there. So make sure that you do that. If you have the integration file for Nectar or Complete Control or any other third-party script that you are using with Studio One, when you update to Studio One 6.5, you gotta reinstall that stuff. Otherwise, it won't work. It won't appear in Studio One, and it's not a bug. Okay, it's kind of by design, actually. So give that a wee whirl. The GX61 is class compliant. Remove the old instance and devices, re-add it. It's well integrated in Studio One. Aye, there you go. But yeah. Let's see. Rockty says, thank you for all your insight. And he gives me a poop emoji, which is kind of a pink poop emoji. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. But yes, Just Bob says, please hit the like button. That helps me out a lot. And actually, we're almost at parity. We've been a wee bit low on numbers for a Sunday Night Live. We kind of have peaked at, let me see, we peaked at 20, which is definitely lower than we normally have. We normally have about 30 or so. Certainly the last few weeks we've had 30. Now, I know that that's been the Studio One 6.5 release, and I think some of those people have kind of gone off, which is a shame. But we do tend to have a wee bit more than 20 people here, so a wee bit of a shame. But it's okay. I'm okay. I'm not hurt. But yes, we've got 19 likes, and as I said, we peaked at 20. So that's pretty much parity, and I'm kind of happy with that. I will take that. So anyway, that is the end of the show. If you would like to join me for the birthday after show special party hosted by Mike Johnson, then please follow the wee link for that, which is there in the chat. And otherwise, I will see you all on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified, and we will deal with your songwriting, composing, and arranging questions and music theory questions there. Same time, same channel, slightly different show, different intro music. But it will be just as cool. And if you've still got questions about the Halloween challenge, or you're hitting a wee bit of a stumbling stone with that, then we can address that there. All right, folks. Until then, I will see yous on Wednesday. Good night, everybody.